I was really excited about being asked to do this project with MixWave, because I've been asked numerous times to do something like this, and there was always a reason why I didn't do it. But basically, the way it was laid out to me, that it would be laid out, it really made me want to do it, meaning this is going to be a tremendous work tool for me. Another thing is that the way I know that Taylor was talking to me about actually making this work really hit me as though it would work and it would sound real, because we're just capturing ride cymbals of this really sensitive thing in the world of jazz drumming. And you could hear and can access jazz drummers talking about the ride cymbal in ways where the way they grab the stick, where they grab the stick, the pressure that they put on the stick changes what they're getting out of their ride cymbal. If that gives anyone out there any idea of how sensitive this is and why drummers are usually the last people that ever want to be put in a situation where they're turned into artificial intelligence. You know what I mean? It's because it just doesn't make sense. You hear something, it's like, that's not how it sounds. It isn't how it sounds. But with this product, I already know that I can get it to sound like me because it's me. I don't know how I hit, and I know how I just recorded all the hits and all that stuff. But other people are going to have a chance to do that too, and I just think that that's really exciting. The concept of my drum set configuration came largely from being trained as an orchestral drummer in high school, but really playing in the marching band, because I found it cool to play melodiously on the tom-toms. And what was interesting is that there were no hi-hats in the way. When you're carrying this thing on your shoulders, you could just play the tom-toms freely. So it wasn't until the invention of the cable hat that I really could actualize this, because I tried to make it happen without that, and you just can't. I couldn't position the hi-hat properly. So that's the basic idea of my drum set. As far as all the stuff that's on my kit, I mean, it's basically pretty simple. That's almost like if I didn't have all those tom-toms, I'd only have a couple. And the reason is just a different way to play. Again, it's orchestration. Or if I hear a high pitch or sound or a higher note, I play a higher pitched drum. That's all there is to it. When there are low notes in the music or it's very heavy, to me that calls for a bigger drum. So I need to have that range, and that's the basic idea behind having all that stuff. It's like, well, the keyboard player has 88 keys. What's wrong with just having an octave of drums? So that's why I have all that. The cymbal arrangement comes from, again, it's an orchestration thing and a tone thing. I have different hi-hats that when you sit on my drum stool, you are behind my drum set, and you are hearing things the way I hear them. When it's just you on that drum set, those hi-hats sound unbelievably different from one another. And that was part of my choice. That's why I have ZBT, which is on one end of the spectrum. It's as dry and like, you're hitting something in the kitchen as it gets. And it's a perfect sound to complement the almost prototypical perfect hi-hat sound for everyone's general choice, which would be the new beats. And then I have my operable hi-hats on the bigger kit anyway, where I'm using A customs on my left-handed side because they're a little darker, and a KZ pair or a K on top, and almost a quick beat or a sound edge cymbal on the bottom, just to let the air get out to get more highs. So it's like that's the darker side and that's the brighter side. As far as my kick drums are concerned, the reason why I actually set up 4 at one point was because for me, orchestrating, I mean, there are just moments that call for very few notes and moments that call for a ton of notes. And you don't play a ton of notes on a giant sounding bass drum. It just is a big rumble and it doesn't work. You have to have a tighter sound. But it really bothers me that I can't have it all. Like, why can't I do that? That's what I hear in my mind. So the whole world can go away and I'll get in the basement and set up as many kick drums as I want, if I really wanted to be happy. And essentially the 26 takes care of the rock boom, where you're just not hitting a lot of notes, just a big sound. 24 does that as well, but it's also tight enough that it won't sound exactly like 20,000 other bands that are all using the 22 and have that tight, so you can play a lot of notes on it. But still, I like to have a little bit of air on the drum, because it's not all about playing fast clusters of notes. It kind of has to have, the drums have to have everything. You know, the 26 is not going, that's just going to be one giant sound. And the 18 is basically almost a combination jazz kick and rap music. With doom, you have that longer lasting, higher pitched tone. So that's why I have a whole pile of kick drums on the Monster setup. The purpose of this selection is to have the more crack, higher pitched tones as well as some of the deeper ones and everything in the middle. And these snares not only satisfy that, but they go through my career in an interesting way. So if I was to start with the career talk, I would begin with this all birch snare drum here. That was used on James LaBrie's solo album Mull Muzzler 2, as well as some other records. And it's incidentally the same one that was used on Annihilator Set the World on Fire when I was flowing up. So that's a special one there. And we have a clear P77 on it to really bring out the highlights that birch brings out of a snare drum sound. It's almost, I picture it as a built-in reverb. It just has that hollow crack. It really translates. So that's that drum. This drum here, the Masterworks, was used on Dream Theater's Astonishing album, as well as some of the tours in that era for the self-titled record. And so, although the drum gets an incredible high crack to it, we deepened it because it's capable of having a rich snare sound, not too deep, but deep enough within the spectrum of the snares that we're using. So we chose to go deeper with that drum. Moving on to normally complete overtones, we get to the metal snare drums. This is, your standard pearl brass metal snare drum. And as I spin, go around the corner here, that's the Sensitone, end all be all standard drum, and it sounds amazing. That's why most people use it. I put a remote control sound head on it just to again fill the spectrum of snares that we have here for the MixWave product. On the end is aluminum. I first heard that drum, Joey Kramer from Aerosmith had a couple sent to him, and we shared a common drum tech. I think McGee actually introduced that one to me, and when I heard it, it was almost like a piccolo, because you could crank it, but not quite, and it has the highest pitch and crack of the series. Backing off it a little bit is I gotta do my spin move again, right? Anyway, 14 plies of maple and 6 of birch. Whee! Spin back again. And that drum really is like, that's the consummate crack out of a wood drum without getting the metal thing. We wanted to stick to bringing out the purity of every single solitary drum. So that's the consummate cracking wood drum, whereas the aluminum one and the brass one are, takes care of that in the metal side of things. And then that leads me over to the drums that the latest tours and albums. That snare drum is a 20-ply reference drum, 14 maple, 6 of birch, and it's 6.5 inches deep, as opposed to the other one over there, the shorter one. The mini snare on top is what used to be signature snare model, which is, it's all birch. So that is made it's a 10-inch head with a 6.2-inch depth. That is the golden ratio, and it's a real special drum. So those are those two drums over there.